coming on a bank holiday Monday. What's the rest of the day got in store?
I'm going to take my 2.5-year-old to Lord's to watch a bit of cricket, and then I'm going to do something really naughty, if my wife lets me, and go to a football game as well.
Oh, double sport. You almost need to be up in Leeds, don't you? So you can go either side of the stadium at Headingley.
Well, exactly.
You can see both at the same time.
Or indeed Trent Bridge, Nottingham Forest.
Very true. It's very... so it's like just clocking out.
I'm going to sit on the sofa and think about get over my 4:30 a.m. start this morning. I'm sure you were earlier than us. But...
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's just because the amount of makeup that needs to be put on his face.
These sort of surprise, unexpected questions is what led me to give a rather confused answer to what my favourite Easter egg was earlier on. I'm glad we managed to sort that out, though.
We did brought clarity to both the papers and also Easter eggs. And also to the fact that MPs, some of them, spending time outside their, well, parliamentary profession.
So I'd say, in a way, the bigger part of this story is the last very small paragraph. This is in The Guardian. The Labour Party had pledged, as I'm sure viewers will remember, to ban all second jobs, but has since softened its stance. And that's quite reflective, actually, of partly the approach that Labour has had to government. It's realised that it's a bit trickier and a bit tougher, a bit knottier in government than it is in opposition. But on the substance of the story, yes, 7 MPs have spent on an average of 1 working day a week on second jobs this Parliament. Perhaps the most eye-catching name here, as he often is Nigel Farage. He's earned more money than any other MP, it claims here, from second jobs in this Parliament. Reform UK Leaders has declared an average of about 24 hours of work a week as a Cameo video creator. I know this in part because I sometimes do battle with him on his television show.
And also, but television show, but also a Cameo video creator is where members of the public pay for people to record them video messages and send them back out. And the fact that at least, well, that comes first in the list. It does make you think of the division of busyness for him. It might not all be TV, but some of it might be Cameo.
I think also it's interesting because I'm sure Nigel Farage, who does all these things, Cameo, GB News presenter, media commentator, public speaker, journalist, brand ambassador, social media influencer, I mean, who has the hours in the day, would argue, well, it doesn't stop him from doing his parliamentary duties. But as this piece very rightly points out, he's only taken part in a third of parliamentary votes this Parliament, while the average MP has voted 72% of the time. That is a significant difference. So, you know, these questions about is Nigel Farage working for the people of Clacton-on-Sea or is Nigel Farage working for Nigel Farage? I think this article potentially presents some answers.
It'd be interesting, though, to see what Starmer and other party leaders, the extent to which they have voted. And this doesn't include abstentions. I want to be careful not to defend Nigel Farage too robustly, but I think he is someone who works hard. I disagree with huge amounts of what he stands for. I think he's a false messiah to the working classes. I do not think Reform UK are going to reform this country if they were ever to get into government. But he does work hard.
It's quite the list, that much is for sure. And actually, he's one of 235 other MPs of the 650 who declared at least some outside earnings, according to the paper, working a combined 32,000 hours between them in the first 264 days of Parliament alone. Of those, 105 declared at least one period of ongoing paid employment.
And I think on the face of it, many of us would think, well, MPs, that is such an important job. We elect you to represent us. It's such a core tenet of our democracy that surely you should just be getting on and focusing on that. I suppose the counter-argument is, would we attract a lesser calibre of politician if they weren't able to do any outside work at all?
Yeah, I think that the point with Nigel Farage particularly, though, is I don't think anyone can say the man is not working a lot or working hard with all those jobs, but it's whether that time could be better spent working with his constituents. I'm sure the people of Clacton-on-Sea have plenty of issues. And as leader of, you know, Reform Party, I'm sure there are things that Reform members would like Nigel Farage to focus on. So while I do take your point, I think a question about whether MPs could be spending more time in their constituencies and on their parliamentary duties is a fair one.
And also a lot of those MPs will be at board level, etc., etc. And one could also ask you, well, what insight does that give you to the ordinary lives of your constituents? People like Kevin Hollinrake often makes points to him being in small business before he was in politics. And perhaps, you know, maybe there are politicians who have a bit of a better grip on the day-to-day workings of the country than others as a result of those jobs.
Maintaining the link with your constituents and therefore with ordinary people like us is absolutely critical. But, of course, when you do become a leader of a party, particularly when you become a Prime Minister, inevitably you have less time to spend with the people who put you where you are.
One person who has a full-time job
It's a great segue.
It's a great segue, is the Pope. And this is particularly a busy time for him.
Yes, that's right. So obviously, with it being Easter, major holiday for the Christian community, and we know that Pope Francis has been recovering from a very severe bout of pneumonia, and he's been very poorly. His health has been really in question for quite a few months now. But it's great that he came out on the balcony yesterday at the Vatican, and he cheered and he said, "Brothers and sisters, happy Easter." And of course, all people who'd gone to see him, who'd made that pilgrimage, were just delighted to see that he was looking healthier. They say his voice is stronger as he's recovering from his bout of double pneumonia.
Not everyone would want to meet J.D. Vance when they were recovering from pneumonia.
Yeah, I think Pope Francis has probably been through enough. Didn't need to be subjected to a meeting with J.D. Vance.
On the politics of this, because of course there is politics in religion, his message included his concern for the situation in Gaza, which he described as dramatic and deplorable. He also condemned the worrisome trend of anti-Semitism in the world. And there's an important point there. You can, as I do, condemn Israel's response to October the 7th, which was utterly horrific, October the 7th itself. You can condemn what Israel has chosen to do in Gaza, at the same time deplore anti-Semitism. Those two things can absolutely go hand in hand.
Are you ready for this, Zoe? One person who used to have a full-time job and is less busy this Easter. See,
Very good.
I don't know what's the next jet lag is worse when you travel against the sun. I'll figure that one out in due course. Bear with me. But this is Prince Andrew,
who joined the King and the Queen at the Easter Sunday church service. Obviously, this is going to kind of raise eyebrows because we know that Prince Andrew has been a figure of much discussion since his Newsnight interview in 2019 and questions over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But he seemed to be putting on a rather united front with the royals there. So.
And more lately, this embarrassing connection with a man alleged to be a Chinese spy who is not allowed to be in the country anymore, who himself says he is not a Chinese spy. Interestingly, just to reiterate that it was in January of 2022 that he was stripped of his military roles and also of the HRH title. So, you know, it's a very tricky conversation to have whenever we talk about Prince Andrew, because he hasn't been found guilty of anything, and he denies wrongdoing, and yet he has. I mean, that is a major step for the Queen to have taken, for him to have been stripped of the HRH title. And that's why this is a story, the fact that he is out and about in public in this way for the first time, I think, in a year, is it?
Yes,
yeah.
and wasn't at the Christmas service in Sandringham, for example. And you know, you can't help but think, and I know they're not a normal family, obviously they're the royal family, but you have that imagery of of the king on a royal tour with his wife in Italy on a state visit. Meanwhile, his son, at the same time, is in court suing the state. Meanwhile, his brother, the royal household, is having to come out and put statements out regarding the alleged links to the spy and the alleged activity, which is all claims and counterclaims and denials, etc. But there's a lot going on.
And Prince William is at Aston Villa, cheering on the Villa.
And now on the Isle of Mull. Cheering on Crofters in the Isle of Mull. I can't do another segue. Jet lag is worse when you travel against the sun.
This is an amazing story, isn't it? The key bit here is apparently the body's circadian rhythm, which I know all about, having used to present radio shows in the middle of the night, or the body clock, as it's probably better known, is less confused, it says here, when travelling westward, because the direction prolongs the body's experience of a normal day-to-night cycle. So, in other words, if you're travelling eastwards, jet lag is even worse.
Yeah, lots of old wives' tales about why jet lag is so bad and when it might be worse and when it might be better. But now we actually have some evidence that everything for it is, as you say, the circadian rhythm.
Really appreciate both coming in with us this morning. Thank you so much.